going here. Let me see. Need to make sure everybody can see. We will try our best. Okay, so there are finite decimals. They end. So for example, 0.125, it ends, right? And then there's the infinite, right, or repeating. Something like this, right? 3, 8, 5, 7, 2, 9, right? It just keeps repeating. These don't end, so those we have to kind of cut at some point, right? So 3/4, we're supposed to write it as a decimal and percent. And some of you are saying, I've watched this already. Why are we doing this again? Just making sure you're all on the same page. So 0.75 is the decimal. To get any decimal into a percent, all we do is multiply it by 100. And then you got to make sure you add, this is actually a unit, right? You have to add the percent symbol to it. Okay. 5 over 6. So basically, if you forget, the symbol that looks like a fraction is the division symbol, right? I don't know if you noticed that. 5 divided by 6. This is definitely not a finite amount. So what I want you to do is, right, just write it down like that. And then if you want to give your final answer as a decimal, you round it to 2 decimals, right? So it'd be 0.83. Okay. If you want to state this, which is still on my calculator, as a percent, multiply it by 100 on your screen, and then state it as 2 decimals. Do not use the rounded to get your to percent, because then it would be 83%, which is technically incorrect, because you're using the rounded final answer as a decimal to get that answer. So don't make that mistake, okay? And so that just keeps going, and the video's up, so you can check if you got that right. It's in Google Classroom under classwork. So I'll leave that up to you. Round the following to nearest hundredth. So that's 2 decimals. That means that it's minimum of 2. Basically, when you see this, it's a minimum of 2. If you want more, that's fine, as long as you round correctly. Okay, so let's say you take this number. So you always have to think of numbers from 0 to 9. So again, some of you will know this already, especially if you had me before. Okay, anything that's 43210 rounds down. 5 and up will round up. So basically, if you want to cut it there, you got to look at the number to the right of where you're cutting, and that determines what happens to that number. Since it's 4, right, we say we round down. And you're like, wait a minute, why round down? It says it stays 8, Mr. Dixon. Why are you saying rounding down? Well, if you look at the original number, you round it down, right? There's the 4, 6 behind it. You're now saying you're a little bit smaller than that number, right? So you are actually rounding down. And let me just grab a random one here, like the ripple effect ones. If you cut this number to right here, the 9 will bump that to a 9 here, right? So it's 201.99. Not 202, it's just 201.99, because that 9 bumped that to a 9. Let's look at this one where there's a ripple effect. If you cut this there, the 7 bumps this 9 to a 10. So you write down the 0, carry the 1. 1 and 9 is 10 again. The decimal comes down. The 1 turns that into a 10 again. Turns this into a 10. And then 1 and 4 is 5. So this is actually rounded, would be 500, like that. So when there are 9s, you just keep bumping it until you get to a number that isn't 9, and just bump it up by 1. But in the meantime, you fill zeros in like that. Okay, let's do one more here. The 4 doesn't affect the 9 because it's right in this camp. So you will actually just say that your final answer is 789.99. Okay. And I really encourage you to do the rest. If you're not sure how to round, the video's up, right? You can check it and see for yourselves. Okay. And then determine the following. You can never just go 3 times the number, okay? You always have to turn this into a decimal. So 3%, think of it as a fraction that is saying 3 over 100. Cent is 100, century, right? So there you go. Of is always times, and then there's 250. Watch for this, for the dollar sign. A lot of students want to drop that on their final answer. So this is really 3 over 100, which turns out to be 0.03 times $250, right? And I'm just going to cheat here. I already did this last time, right? So this is 7.5 on your calculator. Watch this. If you put down 7.5, you're going to lose half a mark for rounding. When it's a dollar amount, you need to add that 0. I know it's kind of silly, right? It's the same thing, but the province wants that when it's a dollar amount. That's just how they are, okay? 2.75%, it's essentially saying 2.75 over 100 times 2,550, right? So turn that into a decimal. You go 2.75 divided by 100. If you're not sure, please make sure, use your calculator if you're not sure, don't guess. Because if you put down 0.275, that's actually 27.5%. It's a big difference, right? So if you're not sure, just run it by. You're not showing, how good you are if you're not using a calculator. Sure, it's faster, but if you're not sure, run it through your calculator. So I keep that on my calculator and I go and I multiply it. So it's $68.76. Like that. And that continues on. Maybe I'll give you the answer to this one. This is 5.74 if you want to try that yourself. That is the answer to that one there. And again, I just made this worksheet like a year ago or so, because I figured a lot of students sort of knew this, but then they didn't quite, and so I lost them sometimes while I was teaching because of that, okay? For example, and then here is people, right? No longer dollars. We had dollars all along. Now it's people, right? So there you need to watch out. I did this for a reason. Turn this into a decimal. So go 25.64 divided by 100 and write that down. Don't round to 2 decimals because it's not your final answer, okay? 0.2564. 0.2564. Of is in math always times, so you can use brackets, you can use the X, it's up to you. And then there's 7850 people. So my final answer is going to be people, correct? Because that's what we have now. So I'm going to go 78050. So I get that. So this is how I answer. Right? People. But you need to state it as a whole number, because number of cans, number of coins, right? Number of bags, like whole numbers need to be stated here. So this is 212. Right? 212. If you rounded this to 2013, which most of you probably did, that's fine as well. The province just wants a whole number. They don't want, in different scenarios, you would round up or down in the real world, right? If you're saying, how many people will fit in this room, right? Or at Sisler, you would probably round down, correct? You wouldn't round up. And then there's certain instances where you want to round up. So that's why the whole number thing, it's up to you as long as it's a whole number, okay? Technically, you probably learned, hey, it's a 7, right? It bumps that up to a 3, so it is correct. Both would get the right answer there. All right, and then my favorite. This is called proportional reasoning. Write that down. This can help you big time in life. If you know how to solve this, if you know how to use this to solve a problem, you can answer a lot of questions that you might have even in real life, okay? Right now, we're just going to deal with numbers, and then we're going to add units to it. So I want you to do this. Proportion is basically just two fractions connected with an equal sign. That's the proportions is two fractions. And you're trying to find the value here that will make those exactly the same. So if you highlight where your variable is, right, it depends. It could be up, it could be down, it could be on the left side, on the right side. But I'll show you a little trick, okay? You always want to find your variable, which is here. Then you start with 38 and you will go across, and every teacher has done it slightly differently. I know that, okay? I'm aware of that. You multiply across and you divide by what's left over, right? So these two numbers are diagonally across from each other. They will multiply, and then you divide by what's left over. So this is what I need you to show me. N is equal to, make one of these lines. You'll put 38 times 45. You got to make sure, I don't care in which order you do that, but you need to show 38 times 45 like that. And then this symbol, remember, it's the fraction symbol, that's division, divided by what's left over, which is 76. And then you can show me what n is on the next line. So if you have one of these calculators, you can do this all in one shot. Because there's only one number in the denominator, that is the key. Only one number in the denominator, multiply and divide, and you get 22.5. Okay? Please do not do this. Okay, I'll show you. I don't want to see that. Okay. Oh, like what is 22.5? The whole thing? Like the whole, like, first of all, you have two equal signs here now. And like, is this divided by that 22.5? I don't know, right? Like, so this is not what I want to see, right? I want to see the step, which you're telling me which two you're multiplying and which one you're dividing by. Okay, that's all I need to see. Is there something else that happens here that I should address? I think I'm good. I'm just going to move on. Okay, here, B, the variable is there. I highlighted it. I'm going to start with that number. And in this case, I'm going to travel downwards. And I'm going to multiply first. And then I'm going to divide second, right? It's always multiply, then divide. So you write down M is equal to, oh, I don't like decimals, Mr. Dirksen. That doesn't matter. Your calculator will help you there, right? You multiply and then you divide by 124.5. And then you state your answer. 3.95 times 95.7 divided by 124.5. That's 3.04, right? The 6 bumps that to a 4. So it's 3.04. Are we good with this? Some of you remember it because you had great teachers last year, right? They just you just know, right? In grade 11, you do a lot of this, right? Remember slopes? The slopes ring a bell, yeah? Proportional, a lot of proportions there. Okay. It's a dry unit though. Okay, so I'm gonna try. I start my journey on the side where the variable is. That's kind of how I see it. So you go down, and then you multiply. You divide up. So x is gonna be equal to 1.25. I'm gonna use brackets here, folks. because there's an X there. I don't want to have more than one variable that looks the same. So the same thing happens here, 1.25 times 0.85. Some of you want to press equal first, that's fine. Like if you press equal after multiplying and then divide, no problem. 0.0, I want to truncate it here, I want to cut it here, so I look at the 3, doesn't do anything, so you round down, right? Voila, right? So this is proportional reasoning. Some of you just know it as cross multiply and divide. It's all the same, really. Just watch for units, okay? Next page. I want you to try those 3 there for me real quick. And if you're done, just wait, okay? Don't talk or whatever, or keep going if you want. But if you want to do this, and some of you, right, might be coming from other courses or whatever, so I get it. Just hang in there and wait. So try EFG, okay, on page 2. So I'm just going to work through it and you can check, okay? How are we doing there? A-okay? If you made a mistake, don't make a big deal, right? Just move on, learn from it, okay? Like, I don't want you to beat yourself down just because you make a mistake on the first couple of days, right? Just keep going, learn from it. It's like, oh, I didn't notice that, right? No problem. Okay, word problems. So here you have to set it up, right? It's a step back from what we've been doing, okay? If a car uses 8.5 liters for every 100 kilometer it drives, this is called the fuel economy of a vehicle, by the way. Most cars show it like that. If you have, a lot of you have cars nowadays, it's there, right? It shows you as you're driving. Determine the amount of fuel, right? They want to know how much fuel in liters you will use to drive a certain distance. So start with what you know for sure. You know 8.5 liters is what it takes to drive 100 kilometers. So write it as a fraction like that. And then you'll put an equal sign. Then this has to be the same as, because the amount of liters you use stays the same. We're assuming that. It's not really true. As you go into hill country, it changes. But if this was an average usage, the kilometers you drive have to go in the denominator as well. That's important, right? Like if kilometers happen to be down here, that's how you started it. You have to make sure that the distance you're given also goes in the denominator. It's very important. Otherwise, you're going to get it wrong. And so we give this a letter. I don't know, you can use X if you want, M, L, whatever. But we're going to figure out what this is in liters. Okay, maybe let's not do M, guys. Otherwise, you're going to think it's ML, right? Milliliters. That's confusing. So we can use X, or, yeah, let's use X. Okay. And so now it's the same as before. This is my variable. we're going to multiply up and divide down. So x is going to be equal to 1259 times 8.5 divided by 100. Okay. So you run that through, and you get 107.02. And what are we in? We are in liters. Okay, that's what we expect to get. So the added layer here is to set it up correctly and to make sure you state units, right? State units. This question could have easily been flipped, okay? It could have said, if you used 107 liters, how far did you drive? Okay, then you would have put the liters that you're given up here and found the distance, right? So just so you know, this can be stated in every way possible, right? And so this is true, right? Like I think 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers is probably like a small sedan, like a Honda Accord or Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla probably uses this much. So if you know you're going to make a trip to, let's say, Regina, this would probably get you to West Edmonton Mall or like Alberta, right? Like you go really far and you want to know how many liters am I going to use, right? With my car, you're going to use 107 liters approximately, and gas right now is $1.30, right? So you'd probably be spending, $150, $130 on gas one way, come back another 150, right? It depends on wind, it depends on how you drive, all of those things. Okay, it says it costs $128.90 to purchase 3 cans of paint. How many cans can be purchased with $350? And there's something this question is not saying, but it is implied, is that obviously we're talking whole cans, right? We can't do part of a can, right? Good luck with that, right? $128.90 for 3 cans. So set it up like that. Okay? This goes together. And then on the other side, it's saying how many cans. So X number of cans, right, can be purchased for $350. So dollar matches dollar, and obviously our cans are down here. The variable is on the right side, so you start your journey down and up. Okay, so X is equal to 350 times 3 divided. I'm using brackets. I hope you're okay with that. If you're not okay with it, just use times. But maybe refrain from just going equal, 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 right? Like just write down X is this, and then you do another line where X is whatever you calculate here, and we know it's going to be number of cans. And when you run this through your calculator, you get 8.145, and it keeps going, right? So you gotta go approximately, like squiggly lines, 8 cans, right? In this case, you would round down regardless, right? Because even if it's 8.99, you still couldn't buy that full 9 cans, right? You can only buy 8. So my preference is you state kind of like what it is as a decimal, and then you round. This is your final answer, whole units. Does that make sense? We're good? Okay, let's keep going. Bed mass. Uh-oh. How would we do this? Okay. This is where having a good calculator comes in. Try typing this in one shot right now. Some of you will not be able to, but if you can, you're laughing, right? So 7 times 2.85 times 1.12. You can use brackets if you have, you can use times, that's fine. Plus 2 times 19.75 times 1.07. I typed in the whole thing as I see it, and I had equals I will write down 45.02, right? 45.02 is my rounded final answer. No dollar signs anywhere, so I don't need to worry about that. If you weren't able to do it, don't sweat it. I'm going to do it the step by step now. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Okay, sorry guys. Let's redo it. I gotta show you that I'm a human being, right? 2 times, and make sure you, is that it? 48. Okay. Let's try this again. Yeah, I put a 2 instead of a 7. It's a math bingo, okay? It's like you try until you get the right answer. No, it shouldn't be like that. 64.61, right? Yeah, okay, sorry guys. Thank you for speaking up. I actually appreciate that, especially before I finish the whole thing. Okay, now let's do it step by step because some of you, let's face it, you have a cell phone. You can't. Can you do it? Cell phone users? Oh, okay. Maybe they've improved. So, anyways, you can do it in one shot because technically this setup you will do later on. You'll see as you move along. You will set it up like this and get your answer. Okay. Let's try another one. Let's try this one here. Hopefully this one I get right. So 2 times 3 times 450 times 1.05 plus 750 . And it's on camera too. I recorded my mistake, right? So it's there for good. How are we doing there? It matches my answer. Is that good? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. And it's 0.10 because there's as soon as you have dollar signs, you need to have that little zero there. And now we're getting into complicated territory. I would like you to try this right now. And I'm just gonna ask what you get, and I'm gonna write down the answers we get, and then we'll figure out who's right. So what would this be if you had to calculate that? Go ahead. Okay, I'm just gonna ask a few folks. Maybe here, Joey. Do you have an answer? 296. I'm gonna. Okay. Anybody else? What else are we getting? I know that some of you will have a different answer. I have a good feeling. Same? Everybody's getting the same? 40.296. 40.28. Anybody else? Cash? Sorry, can you say that louder? 40.30 rounded. Okay, you rounded it. Okay, yeah. So these would be the same basically. Just one is rounded to 3, one is rounded to 2. Nobody else got something different? Okay. I know in a class this size, there's a few or maybe quite a few that got something else. And this is what is happening, okay? Watch closely. If you go 680 divided by 6.75 times 2.5, you're gonna get it wrong, okay? Because if you do it this way, the calculator actually thinks that the 2.5 is up here. Okay, so I'm not gonna ask, but is this what some of you got? Probably, right? Yeah, don't feel bad. This is why I'm doing this. So the reason, what you need to do here is you either calculate this first. So you say, hey, this is 680. I'm just gonna go 6.75 times 2.5. So that's 16.875. Don't round too soon, right? And then you divide. Then you go 680 divided by 16.875. And you get 4.296. Or 40.30 is fine. Okay, so here we are. This is what we get. Okay, all right. Let's try this one here. I will show you how I type this in. 680 divided by, I'm going to use brackets. So I go 35.25 times 4, close it, because now you're telling the calculator like these two are multiplying, but they're both in the denominator. Plus 3 times 75 times 1.12. And you get 256.82. That's what you're supposed to get here. And you know, down the road, I will do this in steps most likely. But right now, I just want you to realize, see if you can use your calculator for these, if you can type them in one shot. 3 over 14 times 250 people. You can go in both ways. I would go 3 divided by 14, right? Hit equals, and then times 250. That's what I would do, but you don't have to. You can go 3 times 250, then divide it by 14. But because these seem to be together, I would do them first. Whenever you have a fraction times a whole number, turn it into a decimal, okay? So that's 53.57 people, which is approximately, we can round up or down, 53 or 54 people. Okay. All right. Now we got to deal with taxes. Keywords, folks, listen carefully. There's something called before taxes, which means no taxes included. And after tax means taxes are included, right? So you have to make sure you differentiate the wording, right? Before and after. So PST is 7, GST is 5. Combined, we have 12%, right? That's actually on your formula sheet. In the back, if you ever forget, it's on there on the yellow that I gave you. Jenna purchased 3 pop drinks at $125 each, as well as 4 Dream Donuts at $150 each. So before tax, we're going to do that here. 3 times $1.25, right? Plus, see, I'm getting you to practice what we just did. 4 times $1.50. Okay. You can technically type this all in one shot right now. But I know that the first part is going to be $3.75 for the pop and $6 for the Dream Donuts. And that ends up being $9.75. Confirm that, check, make sure you got the same. This is before tax, right? Before tax, that's what you would pay. After tax, this is the trick, folks, okay? Watch carefully. And you can do this anytime you go to a store and you want to buy something. you take the amount and you multiply it by 1.12, not just 0.12, 1.12. That is the trick, okay? So take 9.75, oops, and you multiply it by 1.12, and it's 1092. I will show you the long way of doing it, or the other method later, but this is a very nice little trick. So anything you see on the shelf times 1.12, okay? And any day. There are some items that are worth like that are only taxed one tax, but we won't go in there just yet. Okay, Jake buys a new gaming console for $399.99 and 2 new games. So before tax, you would go $399.99 plus 2 games that are $54.99 each. And that's 508.98. This is before taxes. After tax, okay, you take the before tax and you multiply it by 1.12. So keep it on your screen. So that is 570.06. So approximately $61 or $62 in taxes, right? You can multiply by 0.12, but then you're only finding the taxes. You would have to add it to your before tax, right? I know some of you learned it that way. I want you to have this for real life, right? Right? If you're buying a car, right? Take, 10,000 and whatever dollars times 1.12, then you know how much it will be. Okay. And maybe I'll make a note. This includes the price plus tax. Okay. If you go 1.12, that's actually 112%. If you think about it, because you buy the thing, which is 100%, and you add 12% to it, that's 112%, right? That's really what you're paying for something. You're paying 112%. Okay, we're good? I want you to try C and D right now. Watch D. D is just a really long question, but it's in a chart. But it does the same thing you've been doing so far. So can you do C and D? And if you want to do E as well, then go for it. I'll pause here. Go ahead. There's the first question. That's probably 30, yeah. Just checking. And 10, 30, 37, 50. It's 250.99. Add it all up. Okay, so it's 428. Is that right? I want to rush. Yeah. Times 1.12. That's 479.91. Right? Because, oh, the 8 bumps the 0 to 1, right? This is after tax. I do. Right? We're doing okay so far? Yeah, for a Friday? Okay. Determine the total taxes paid in question D. So you have two choices, right? You can subtract these two, or you can just take the before tax here, and instead of multiplying by 1.12, you multiply by 0.12, because this is just 12%, correct? So you go 428 times 0.12, and that's $51.42. Okay, only taxes. Or you go after tax minus before tax. That's also an option, right? And that should also be, yeah, that's the same, 51.42, right? So either one of these gets you the right answer. So that's how we're going to do taxes in this course most of the time. However, if you're only paying PST is 7%, right? Would you multiply by 1.12? No, right? You would go 1.07, right? Because 7% is 0.07, so it's 1.07 if you only want to add PST. We'll do that, don't worry about it, but I'm just kind of giving you a heads up, right? Okay, let's do some Pythagorean theorem here. Okay. And this will be it, right? I'll just do a couple here and then we'll the most important side you need to find on any triangle is the hypotenuse. Okay? It's across the 90-degree angle. There should have been a little box here, so put it in. So this is the hypotenuse, and these are called legs, right? So I know you used ABC. I know your teachers did that, right? But I don't use ABCs as often. What I will use is I'll tell you that the hypotenuse squared is equal to leg squared plus leg squared, because this is the whole concept of the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so basically K is my hypotenuse, so K squared is equal to 2.75 squared, and it's not times 2, folks, it's squared, okay? 3.15 squared. So you grab both of the legs and you plug it into your formula. And the last step is this, folks. Can you do this with me? If it's K squared here and I just want to know K, I need to take the square root of whatever is on the other side. Okay? So I already right away put down the square root. I don't wait till the end because a lot of students forget. Then grab your calculator and you go 2.75 I have the X2 button. Watch this. My calculator has this button. If you don't have the X squared button, you can use that hat button. I don't know if you have one of those. Or the YX button. You have a Y to the X. There probably is something else out there. Right now I'm drawing a blank, but you know your power button, right? So you can. I have the X2. I'm going to use that plus 3.15 squared. I type it in like that, and I hit equals. I get 17. Do not round. You will use at least 4 decimals, okay? At least 4. If you want to blank your screen, that's fine. And so what I need to do here is just take the square root to get k. That's why I want this right away, so you know, okay, something needs to happen. So I press the square root button on my screen, and I just press answer or equals, and it gives me the 4.18. And we are in inches. It should be the longest side, and there it is. This is when you're missing your hypotenuse. Okay. Now, will you be able to do it exactly the way I did it? Probably not. Depending on your calculator, you'll have to figure out a way to do it. Some of you might have to type square root and actually type in the number. That is just fine. Okay. All right, let's do this one. My hypotenuse is here. I know you're getting ready to leave. Let's just do this one, okay, and then I'm done. This is the hypotenuse, so that means this is leg. This is the other leg. Maybe I will box this in so you know the formula, right? I will give you this, that to find one of the missing legs, you go leg squared is equal to hypotenuse squared minus the other leg squared. That is key. It's minus, because when you isolate for leg, you get minus. So which one is this going to be, Mr. Dirksen? It's going to be the one you're missing, right? So m squared is equal to hypotenuse, which is 1578 squared, minus 7.65 squared. And then m is equal to square root of whatever I get when I enter that. So it's 15.78 minus 7.65. Oh, and I'm not squaring. And that is 190.4859. Take the square root of that. You get 13.80 inches. Hold it, quick check. This should not be larger than my hypotenuse, correct? Because the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So I'm good, right? I'm good. Before we go, I want you to try homework. No way, Mr. Dirksen. It's not going to be a whole lot, okay? So write down on your piece of paper, write down homework. I want you to do questions 11, 11 and, hold it, 13. That's it. Everything that's under it, okay? 11 and 13, it's stuff that we've done today.